Hello and welcome to Let's Regroup in my car. Yep, that's my military police sticker in the background there. Unlike everything else that seems to be written backwards, that one looks like it might actually be written kind of normal, so you could probably read that fairly easy. Sorry, I think it's got a mirror effect on this, so when you see things like my Knights of Awakening shirt, I can't really think about that. So, today's topic, following our social reform, is let's start a riot. No? Okay. I guess not. Alright. So before we get to the meat and potatoes of this discussion, this video, consider for a moment, I want you to consider two different things. What happens if someone flies off the handle around you? They just get pissed off at you and they fly off the handle. How do you react? What happens? Some people, you might get violent. You might want to walk away. If you're that good, you walk away. Whole 9 yards, right? So, you might decide that you're not going to listen to them. I mean, what do you do when somebody starts flying off the handle around you? Give you a couple seconds to think about that. Okay, so the second one. When you were younger and you decided that you were going to throw a fit, how'd your parents react to that? Did they give you what you wanted? Because if they did, I want to know exactly how that happened for you. It did not work for me. It didn't work for me at all. And I've never seen a parent where they did it. Like, you go into the street, or not in the street, but in Walmart or some grocery store, and a kid starts acting out in the floor. I swear to you that it's like stereotype what you see in the movies. They're just looking at them and they're like, no one cares. They don't really make a big scene of it. You're making the big scene, and they're just like, everybody thinks you're acting a fool. It happens. If you got away with it, tell me how you got away with it. Put it in the comments, because I would love to know. My son ain't getting away with that stuff. Okay, so getting to the meat and potatoes of this episode. We're going to start off with Shays' Rebellion. So Shays' Rebellion was an uprising, and I want you to research these things. I mean, I'm going to give you the links down below where you can go and look up them yourself. But I want you to research these. So Shays' Rebellion was an uprising in 1786 of farmers against the state of Massachusetts. The rebellion took place after the state senate refused to step in and assist farmers facing debt during an economic depression following the Revolutionary War. Unfortunately, the farmers took their toll and had to abandon their cause. Most of you probably won't hear about Shays' Rebellion in the average grade school history class, but it's important because of what it led to. Not long after the rebellion, the various states were part of the U.S. that were part of the United States at the time came together and began talking about altering the Articles of Confederation to prevent similar uprisings. Let me say that last part again. To prevent similar uprisings. Eventually, a new document was drafted. Many of you know this document as the United States Constitution. It's also of note that Shays' Rebellion was one of the incidents that was used as a selling point to maintain a federal army even during peacetime. So that's why we still have an army during peacetime. You can all blame it on the farmers if you don't like us having an army during peacetime and think that it should only be for when we're at war. Yep. Oh, Shays' Rebellion. So that's how we got our United States Constitution. All right, so then, a little bit after this, in 1800, we're going to go over another little riot that happened. In 1800, a blacksmith named Gabriel Prosser saw the success of Haitian slaves revolting and decided to organize one of his own in Richmond. Richmond, Virginia. Gabriel's failure, his failure, was in trusting that the slaves across the entire region he recruited from hated their slavers as much as he did. So he thought, okay, so everybody, when we think of slavery, we think of the people that they're getting mistreated, very poorly treated, this and that. Apparently, in Richmond, Virginia, it wasn't nearly as they didn't hate them nearly as much. So I guess all those things were deeper in the South. I don't know. I still don't agree with slavery, but apparently that was a thing where they. But then again, we look back at hostage situations and people have this sympathizer thing going, so maybe that was part of it too. They were all sympathizers with their slavers. I don't know. I didn't live back then. I can't talk to those people. I can't get into my time machine and just go back there and ask them, why don't you hate your slavers? Or even witness why they might not. I'm not an anthropologist either. So anyways, that was a thing. Apparently they didn't hate their slavers as much as he did. So one night, he gathered the troops and a storm ensued and gave 2 slavers an opportunity to warn their owners of the impending attack. So he said, okay, look, you like your slavers. All right, so these 2 people, and maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was only these 2 people that happened to like their slavers. So he said, okay, look, you have this opportunity. You can go out, you can warn your owners because apparently they're not that bad. And what happened? The local militia was mobilized and halted the insurrection. So these 2 slaves went out, told their owners, or told the local militia, I'm not sure. And the owners told the local militia. Somehow the local militia found out. Eventually, the law caught up with Gabriel and he was executed for his part in the insurrection. Gabriel's actions caused Virginia to impose more strict slave laws. So they tightened their grip. Early in the first quarter of our history, being American history, rising up against an oppressor to gain support from the government for their cause only created more problems for the people that wanted to see change. Abolitionists, that's, the alcohol abolishment. Abolitionists faced new challenges to overcome the stereotype that was developing through these rebellious acts. Slave owners' beliefs that their slaves were nothing more than savages was reinforced by such actions. So they were like, okay, these people are rising up against us. They're obviously savages. Savages, barely even human. Okay, that's my favorite movie, so get over it. I love Pocahontas. She's my favorite Disney princess. Okay, one of them. I like a lot of them. Her, Jasmine, okay. Anyways, so because of all these insurrections, it was reinforced in their minds that these people were savages. So rather than accepting that the real problem was a lack of respect, a lack of equal respect, they just took it the other direction. They didn't listen to them. And that's typically, what happens when someone flies off the handle at me. I don't want to listen to them. I'll try to calm them down, because part of it is I can't even hear them. So anyways, then jump to 1900s. I'm sorry. Okay, so I said abolitionists as in the abolitionist for prohibition. Okay, I got those two confused. Sorry, abolitionists were the people that were trying to get rid of slavery. Alright, so anyways, during the 1900s, Los Angeles saw 2 major riots that took place. The Watts riots and the LA Rodney King riots. Both ended horribly for the rioters and caused the police to up their game and increase local government spending to accommodate the upgrades in training and equipment. So all you people out there that are like, oh, well, they went militarized and da-da-da-da. Well, that's partially because of the LA riots. Up in their game, tightening their grip. The Watts riots, however, did have one good consequence that came from the incident. However, it should be noted that an anti-poverty program was established only at the insistence of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whom opposed the riots themselves. So he was also against them, but he said, look, if we don't get these anti-poverty programs in place, that's what's going to cause more of these riots. So, there was something that was good that came from it, but remember how we went back to you have to have someone that's there for lobbying? Basically, these rioters were just cheerleaders. Again. And only because one person heard them and was able to listen did anybody do anything. Now, that's not to say that everybody should listen to what rioters have to say, because, okay, so they should. They should, but we don't. We just, human psychology, we just cut it all out. So, yay, Martin Luther King. I love Martin Luther King. He's such a great person. All right. Again, so we move into the 21st century. We see riots. No big accomplishments. In the more recent times, the bigger government has stepped in to fix problems they see, but ultimately the problems cannot be resolved if people working in sectors daily do not maintain vigilance. And they're not going to want to if you just make enemies of them. Money that's allocated to resolve financial damages created by riots could be better put forward towards other programs. But no. It's all going towards refixing the whole area. Which doesn't really do any good if the police are not able to do their job, or the people that want to establish change aren't doing their job because they lack funds to do their job. Point is, lobby, get it going. Okay, so now you want to know, all right, well, we did have a huge riot, so to speak, that managed to get it established our country, right? No, I'm sorry. This was the Civil War. So it didn't, I guess it reestablished our country would be a better way to put it. So how did the Civil War take off, right? White people had the advantage of being literate. They had the advantage of being literate. And they could communicate effectively through letters and publication. Because white people were the ones running the show in the Deep South, and there were substantial differences in ideology between the two factions, North, South, Union, Confederation. It wasn't difficult to find enough support for leaving the Union, which was essentially the North. We were all the Union, and then I think you get it. So through communication, finances, and strong beliefs in the North and South, they found their causes and rose together to fight everything out. Ultimately, the South lost and gained nothing from the event. Another failed attempt towards personal gains in the well-established government. It should be noted that the only reason the Civil War carried on as long as it did was because the land needed to cover for control, and the South kept revolting for revenge at every turn. So they kept trying to get land, trying to control it, and the South was like, no! Eventually someone had to concede. But there was something that good came out of the Civil War. And it was the end of slavery. Honestly, though, it was really a byproduct of the war rather than the goal of the war. We keep telling people that it had a lot to do with ending slavery. That was a very minor problem that the South had with the North. So, as problems go, Abraham Lincoln saw an opportunity. He said, hey, we've got all these people that don't want slavery anymore. We need a cavalry. Remember, there's that key word there, cavalry. We need a cavalry. Why not recruit black people? Slavery ended. Y'all want your freedom back? The only way that you can keep it is if you can fight with us and help us maintain the North so that when we all become the Union again, you get your rights. So he wasn't really the handsome, daring hero that everybody makes him out to be. But such a good plan. And now people are people. Well, they should be. But as we all know, there's still racism deep in the South. Probably in the North, too. It's a thing, unfortunately. So, anyways, in American history, the Civil War marks the only time that violence had a positive effect on the civilian population rather than solely on the government's ability to adapt and overcome. So do riots really work? Riots by themselves, which is different than a whole war, don't have the same people going out there being disorganized and they're just throwing things around. In our next episode of Let's Regroup, we're going to have a discussion. I'm still looking for people that could that can participate in it. It's probably going to be close to like a 2-hour discussion. So I guess we'll just see how that works. Anyways, hopefully this gave you a little bit of a history lesson about how writing works and why it doesn't. Obviously, we see that they had to overcome our 4 groups: funding, cavalry, convincing the masses, and organization. There we go again. The 4. Until next time, awaken the night within.